So folks, we want to talk a little bit about this evening about the construction efforts that's going on in Western North Carolina. You know, a lot of people saying, where's all this money at? Where's the money at? The government's put all this money in, and where's the money? Nobody's seeing the money. Well, folks, we got a big issue with the current infrastructure. There's a lot of roads up there. Let's take, for instance, Bat Cave. The Bat Cave area down through there. I think that's called Girton Highway 74 that reaches out through those areas. And it runs from basically from the Continental Divide all the way down the mountain into Bat Cave, and then it goes from there. You can continue on and go all the way into Chimney Rock and Lake Lure. Now, some of that area through there was completely impassable right after the hurricane. The road was washed out, and it was only accessible by the mules. If you remember the mule team that went in there and was carrying and toting food for those folks. And then you had some that was able to get through on ATVs and that type thing. And that road was basically impassable. And now they have got temporary roads built. That's not to say that they're not going to keep those, but a lot of those road beds and things was completely wiped out. The base was wiped completely out. So they're going to have to go through now and rebuild the base of the road and build it from scratch because it's all gone. And it's taken a lot of, this is beyond a repair. This is taking considerable engineering, considerable construction. Companies that are experienced in this type of construction, they're having to build a lot of walls and things that separate the rivers that are moved over is having to separate the new location of the river to the road using concrete walls and things like that. And then they're going to have to decide whether they're going to move the river back over to where the channel used to be. So until all these infrastructure projects are done in some of these areas, it's going to be impossible to get the private roads and bridges rebuilt. And that is taking place. Now, 19W has, if you've watched the channel, you've seen us up on 19W a little bit. There is new asphalt and stuff up there for 19W. And, you know, those people along that road, they're starting to be able to get trucks and things in there to haul in building supplies and stuff like that. Now, you know, they're having to rebuild on their own dime. Insurance has not paid for these homes. Even if they had flood insurance, and even if they have riders, I know people that had riders that had a hurricane rider, and they were denied. I know people that had flood insurance, and they were denied. So insurance, folks, in a storm like that is completely useless. They've taken the people's money for years and years and years, and they've been let off of the hook of having to pay. So that's where they stand. Now, we know that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 roads, private roads and bridges that have to be replaced. Now, those roads and bridges have got to wait until the primary roads are fixed and the secondary roads are fixed. And that's where these folks are located off of. So once those roads and those things are fixed, then they will be able to begin repairing the roads and the bridges. Now, I did see one figure that FEMA has capped the amount of money that they will give anyone for a home that was washed away. and you have to apply, and you have to know how to answer all the questions, because if you answer the questions wrong, just by the wrong wording, if you put down flooding, for instance, and it was supposed to be the answer for a hurricane, you're denied, and vice versa. And you can't get any information out of FEMA, anybody to work with these folks, to help them to correctly fill out these applications, because I know people that have filled these applications out time and time and time and time again, only to be denied. And they can't get anybody from FEMA to answer any questions or assist, and they've lost everything. And the amount that FEMA is going to give them is going to be $43,600 total cap money. That's it, capped out. The figure was shown today that only 15% of the people had applied. Well, if you're applying time and time again and you get denied, is that number even counted? Because I know people, like I said, that have applied 10 times and get denied, only to find out later that their wording wasn't correct in a certain answer or something like that. It's nothing but a bunch of bureaucratic tape. And there was deadlines and stuff on this, and nobody, way back up in the hollers now, nobody ever saw anybody from FEMA. Nobody was ever visited up in those areas. They basically went to the big cities and they camped out in a mall in an office like they did in Asheville. And they might have set up a little tent somewhere in downtown Boone or something like that. But the majority of the people that we've been working with in western North Carolina saw absolutely nobody. And there's still hundreds and hundreds of people that don't have power. And guess what, folks? If you don't have power, you can't have internet. And chances are, where these folks are located, they're probably not going to have a cell signal for data either. And so they're in a catch-22. You can't apply if you have no power. You can't apply if you don't have internet. And it does no good to apply if you're going to be denied, but based on some little technical form of writing that you're not aware of. So you see, folks, it makes it look like these folks were set up for failure, not only from the county and the state and the federal. They're left to fend for themselves. And that's where these nonprofits have stepped in to help with feeding the people, help them to stay warm and everything. And I did want to mention right quick, folks, Brother Bud McCall, Appalachian Navy, YouTube. If you're not familiar with Brother Bud on the Appalachian Navy, you need to go check him out. He's in the Koalition with us. He was recognized this morning as a hometown hero for Henderson County. Local radio station up there interviewed him this morning. I got to listen to the interview, and he done a good job. And so you folks go on the Appalachian Navy channel on YouTube. He's also on Facebook, Appalachian Navy WNC, I believe is how he's on there. You can go on there and send him a message and congratulate him. But he's earned that, folks. He spends all of his off time from his job helping other people, taking propane, food, clothing, you name it. He's doing it, and he is well deserving of that award. And I also saw and did not know, but Brittany Rowland from Kris Swiatocho Ministries out of the Refuge Baptist Church has also been recognized as a hometown hero in Henderson County for her efforts and helping those that have been affected by Hurricane Helene. And so you got two folks right there not too far away from each other that's been recognized in Henderson County as a hometown hero. And so you can go to the Kris Swiatocho Ministries website and leave a message for Kris to pass along to Brittany for being a hometown hero. So folks, just wanted to talk a little bit about the infrastructure, the bridge situation that we've got. And you know, they've got what they call a Helene Recovery 47 bill that's been signed. It's been money allocated for it to replace the private roads and bridges, but they've only allocated enough money to do about 200 bridges. And the reason that is because all the red tape and engineering and stuff that is going into these bridges that the state wants to regulate. And we're finding out that if it's an individual, just an individual's house, you can cut out all that red tape because there's no engineering, there's no permitting that has to be done. All you need is your driveway permit pretty much, and that'll get you a bridge. And FEMA, you know, they will allocate money for that, but you have had to apply. That's the key thing. It's tied in with that same garbage, people not knowing how to fill it out, not being able to talk to anybody to help get it filled out correctly in the correct verbiage. So therefore, they're falling in the cracks and not knowing how to obtain federal money and do it in the right verbiage, in the right correct answers that they've got established ahead of time to make the process as difficult as possible and for people not to be able to retrieve money. Because if they can put the money in the bucket and nobody can access it, guess what? The bucket goes back to Washington or to the state. And that's how it works, folks. They want to make it available to look good on the voting record. But when it comes time to accessing it, you are on your own. And they will not give you anything unless, I guess, if you was a squeaky enough squeaky wheel gets the grease, you might get somewhere with it. But you've got to know who you can talk to or how to get a hold of them. And you know, these people are like retired in place. And you can't access them, and they hide behind emails and keyboards, and you can't get a hold of them. They just won't acknowledge you and anything else. That's pretty typical. So we wanted to give some information out about the bridges and the infrastructure, what's kind of going on. The main thoroughfares is the concentration, and then they're going to do the secondary roads, and then off of those secondary roads and things, they're going to maybe and eventually start allocating for the private roads and the private bridges to be replaced only if you've got your application in and you've got the correct verbiage, then you might receive the money for it. Outside of that, you're going to have to rely on nonprofits, you know, to help assist with these bridges and things. And we've been working with Appalachian Reclamation Koalition, and Brother Bud had found Tim Buchanan up around Newland that was needing a bridge, and the fella had he got a bridge in about 12 days, and people was jumping up and down, screaming and hollering, "How'd he get a bridge? How'd he get a bridge?" And it's bureaucracy, folks. That's all it is. It's just red tape bureaucracy, and he's got it. And they were saying that he was in violation, there was no permitting and all this. Well, come to find out, he was an individual. He was not a multi-family access. Now, if you've got multiple houses using a bridge, they're claiming now that you've got to have a commercial permit for a bridge, even though you've got to replace what you had like for like. In other words, If you had a single lane bridge with no banisters, you have to have that replaced. But the state wants to come in and engineer everything like for like, and then have total control over the permitting and all that garbage. And they claim, oh, we can do it in a couple of weeks, which is a lie, because there's a huge shortage of contractors, and those 2 weeks of we can do it is turns into 10 and 12 months because of engineering, studies, meetings about meetings, and so forth. You need to refer to my video, 5,800 Families, and look that video up. I go into a lot of detail on that video about the process of the bridges and what's really going on with that procedure. So folks, I just wanted to give you that brief information, refer you to the 5,800 Families video. You'll see it. It just starts out with 5,800 families. And if you'll watch that video, that gives it in pretty good detail of what you can expect if you're watching from Western North Carolina or an area. Maybe you're in Texas down there on the Guadalupe River, or maybe you're in Kentucky, Southwest Virginia, or West Virginia, where all these floods and things took place, and you're in the same boat with your home being washed away. What you can expect as far as Foxtrot Echo Mike Alpha. I think I've said their name enough. They're probably going to flag the video, but it ain't going to be nothing new. They to keep taking subscribers off the channel. They don't want the truth out there because it makes them look so bad, and they're guilty of it. And they try to hide the truth so that they're not shamed, I guess you might call it. But anyway, that's what's happening. So folks, I appreciate you joining me here today on Deep River Farm. I hope everybody has a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next video.